Hello everyone. In today's session, I am going to present you on the topic inner classes in Java. So, what do you mean by an inner class? If a class consisting of another class inside it, it is called as an inner class. So, if you take the inner class or its outer class in order to access its corresponding members, how we can access those corresponding members? Till now, we have defined and declared a user defined class, and we have instantiated its corresponding object related to the class. So here, for the implementation of the inner classes, you need to maintain a unique thumb rule. That is, here you are going to associate with the two classes. One is an outer class and another one is an inner class. To access the inner class directly, it is not possible. So the thumb rule you have to remember all the times is, first you have to take the instance of the outer class and then take the instance of the inner class. To follow these implementations of accessing the inner classes, so how many ways of method implementations are defined for the explanation? So there are 4 implementations defined. The first one we call it as regular inner class. And the second method we call it as method local inner class. And the third implementation is an anonymous inner class. And the fourth implementation is static inner class. So we'll go with the first implementation, regular inner class. We'll see the code implementation for each of these 4 methods. And remember, the thumb rule is always, first you have to take the instance for the outer class and then take the instance of an inner class. So we'll go with the first category, that is regular inner class. So first I'm creating a user defined class and naming it as an outer. So create the name of the class as outer, and say for suppose this class, user defined class named as outer, is having a method defined as an outer method. I am defining it as outer method, that is with the return type void outer method will just print a statement as it is related to an outer class method. So print it as system dot out dot println of this is an outer class method. Then so after providing the definition of this outer class related method, that is outer method, then in this user defined class called as outer, create inside another class called as inner. So in this, take another class, that is class inner, and say for suppose it is containing a method defined as inner method, and that is holding, say for suppose, return type void inner method, and for sample we are printing it as a statement. This is related to an inner class method. Right. So if you see the previous slide, see that in the previous slide, your first user defined class is an outer class which is containing its corresponding method, that is outer method. And in this it is containing an inner class, and I have named it as an inner, which is containing its corresponding method, and I named it as an inner method. So in order to access the corresponding inner class related members, I said that you need to follow the thumb rule. In order to access the instance of the corresponding inner class, first you have to take the instance of the outer class. So I am using a main method in order to take the instance for these class related objects. So using the main method, public static void main string args. So in this, first take the instance of the outer class. So if you see our outer class instance, outer class is named as outer. So this instance is called as O. Create it with a new operator, outer O equals to new outer of. And if you see that in the previous slide, its corresponding method is defined as outer method. So access this corresponding method using this instance. So call it with O dot outer method. Done. And now take the instance of the inner class. So if you go to the previous slide, this is your inner class. It is having its corresponding method, inner method, right? So now take the instance of the inner class and say it as I equals to new inner of, and from this instance I, you call its corresponding method I dot inner method. Then so we'll close the main method, and if you see our previous slides, this is our inner class related code, and go to the previous slide, the very first one, outer class related file. Here we have not closed the brace, so finally I am closing the last one. This is an outer class related curly brace. So once if you check out the code from the very first slide, this is your outer class, user defined class you have created and its corresponding method, and it is containing another user defined class, say it has some inner class which is having its corresponding method defined. So in order to access this inner class directly, we cannot take the instance of this corresponding inner class. You have to take the instance only after creation of these outer class instances. So this is the thumb rule we have implemented for these two lines of statements. And if you compile this program code, so what is the file name of this program code? That is outer. Outer is your first created name. See, this is the name of the program. which is holding the main method. So you have to save this with a file name outer.java and compile the code with java c space outer.java. So after compilation, it gives you a compilation error. That is, a non-static reference is unmapped to a static reference. Remember the thing, a non-static reference. So what is the compilation error generated for this case? If you observe in this code, this is your inner method. So what is the inner method here in the previous case? See that this is of non-static type, right? Your inner method, what you have defined, is of non-static type, and your compilation error is generated in this particular segment of code. What type of compilation error it is generating? That is a non-static reference to a static reference is not matched. A non-static reference to a static reference is not matched. So how to resolve such type of errors? Remember, in the programming environment, every time a non-static to non-static mapping should be done, and the same way static to static mapping should be done. So in order to resolve such type of errors, there are two implementations defined in this inner class implementations. So what are the two implementations defined for this case? And the first case is, the two implementations are, one is an instance method and the second one is a static method. So the same thing, if we go with this first case, instance method, for the previous compilation error that we have encountered. So how to solve this particular case? Here, whatever the two lines of error that is generated, you have to post these two lines of code in the outer class related method. Remember that? See that I am showing you again. Whatever the compilation error that is generated, this inner instance and the inner related member should be accessed from the outer context. So opening the page of the outer context, this is your outer context page, right? So if you see the outer context, this is of non-static type. Non-static in the sense, we can call it as an instance way of calling or instance method. So use these two lines of statement, that is, here inner I equals to new inner of, and then next call its corresponding inner related method. What is the inner related method? So this is the inner related method, inner method, right? So call this from the instance I dot inner method of. Clear? So if you observe the code carefully, whatever the compilation error that is generated in the regular inner class implementation, here we are following the thumb rule. Even though after following the thumb rule also, the compilation error is unable to be solved. So how this can be solved? With the two implementations. One is instance way of calling and second one is a static way of calling. In the instance way of calling, in the previous case, the generated two lines of errors, we are posting it from the outer context, right? So this is our outer context, and that is a non-static contextual implementation. So here the non-static to non-static mapping can be done, and your code will be compiled properly. And if you execute this particular program code with again Java C space outer dot Java, till now in our Java, for a single user defined class, a single byte code is generated, but here 2 bytecode files are generated, and 1 bytecode file is generated as outer dot class, and the second bytecode file is generated as outer dollar inner dot class. So these are the 2 bytecodes generated after the first implementation, instance implementation. Clear? And then we'll go with the second implementation, that is a static way of implementation. So see that how to implement this static way of implementation. Again, going back to the previous code, the same portion of segment, right? Instead of writing these 2 lines of statement, here you have to use the same code, that is for the main method. First, take the instance of the outer class, outer O equals to new outer of, and then its corresponding method is O dot outer method, right? And then from the static point of view, how we can call it? First you call the outer, that is outer dot, go with the inner class, outer dot inner. So take the instance as I for suppose, equals to new outer of, here you have to follow the parenthesis again with a dot operator, and again call its corresponding inner class. In a single line of statement, you are using outer class as well as inner class, right? And now use this instance, that is I, followed by its corresponding method, I dot inner method. Done. So close of the main method. So this is how a static implementation for the regular inner classes can be done. So once I'll revise you about a regular inner classes. So going for the very first case. So here you are creating a user defined class, named it as outer, which is holding its corresponding user defined method, that is we have assigned as outer method with a simple implementation. Then and next, this is consisting of another class, we have named it as an inner class, and this is consisting of a method definition, that is inner method with a simple implementation, right? After this, in the main method, we cannot access directly the inner classes. So first take the instance of the outer class and its corresponding members, and then take the inner class instances and access its corresponding members. So in this case, it will be generating a compilation error, right? So what type of compilation error it has generated? Here it is generating a non-static reference is made from a static point of view. So how to solve this issue? Always in any of the programming environment, non-static to non-static mapping is done and static to static mapping is done. So in order to solve such type of compilation errors, you will be moving with the posting of the code. See, these 2 lines of the code where the inner class is instantiated, this code is posted from the non-static point of view. So what is the non-static point in this scenario? That is from the outer class itself, right? So in this outer class, there is a outer method where we are writing the corresponding 2 lines of code segments over here. After this, if we assign the file name by saving it with outer.java And by compiling the code with java c space outer.java, here two bytecode files are generated. One is a pure outer class, and second one is outer class as well as inner class. This is the first implementation, that is instance way of calling. And if we go for the second implementation, that is a static method. In this, if we observe, first outer is taken the instance, and next outer followed by inner class is taken the instance. This is called as a static method of calling. Clear? Then so this first portion is completed. Then coming to the second implementation, method local inner class. So what is this method local inner class? The name itself is telling that inside the outer class method, see, this is your outer class method. In this, we have to create an inner class. Till now, we have used a simple line of statement and we have taken the instance of the inner class, right? But in the case of the second scenario, that is method local inner class, so this is implemented inside the method. So I'm writing the code again. So the second implementation is method local inner class. So if we take the thing as usual, the first thing is an outer class, which is consisting of its corresponding method, outer method, void outer method. See that I am saying the name itself is defining as a method local inner class. In this method, you are going to create inner class. That is, create a class as inner, and again it is having its corresponding method, say void inner method, right? So write a simple line of statement, that is print a statement system dot out dot println of this is an inner class method. Right, so close of this method definition and close of this inner class. So where to take the instance of this inner class? In this method local inner class. So whatever the two lines of statements, we have taken the instance here. See, these are the two lines of statements, inner I and inner method, that we have to include here itself, right? After the closing of the method body and then after the close of the inner class, right? See that this is the close of the inner class. After this, we have to take the instance of the inner class, that is inner I equals to new inner of, and the next call its corresponding method. So what is the inner related method? I dot inner method. Then and next we have not used the main function. So as usual, a routine statement representation in the main method, public static void main string args. So if you observe in the previous slide, have we used any outer class instance? No. In the main class only you are going to take the instance of the outer class, right? Outer O equals to new outer of and access its corresponding member, that is O dot outer method. Then and inner class is taken the instance in the method itself, right? So close of the main function, and I think class is not yet closed, right? Yes, so class is not yet closed, and finally I'm closing the class here itself. So if you see the case that in the main method you are taking first the outer class instance, right? After taking the instance of the outer class only, then your control will be moving to the inner class. So what does this outer class is consisting of? An outer method. What the outer method is having? It is having an inner class inside it. Because of this reason, we are stating this as a method local inner class, right? So in this inner class, it is having its corresponding inner method. And now this inner class is instantiated outside of this inner class, right? So the thumb rule is defined for all of the 4 implementations. Clear? So the first 2 implementations are regular inner class, method local inner class. So 2 inner classes are completed. For today, we'll wind up with the 2 inner class implementations, and in the next class, we'll see with the 3rd and 4th implementations. That is anonymous inner classes and as well as the implementation of static inner classes. Thank you.